On guys, it's very early in the morning and I'm dirty as hell, and I will explain why. It was very hot today. I was in Wisconsin, and I load a military truck which is going to California. This is first time in a long time I actually going there, and I lost my voice today, and I got a present. I was sitting in military base and they couldn't find the person who can drive the truck from the company they call. I don't know why they call a company. And I asked him, I says, you guys have anything to eat? They're like, yeah, here we go, man. So menu 7. So I ate one, and I ate it dry, basically. I didn't eat the whole thing, but I ate it mainly everything, whatever you could eat dry inside there. And the other one, my wife always wanted to open one of this and figure out how it works, because there's a heating pad and stuff like that. So anyways, I kind of nibble on it and throw the rest away. Another thing, it's kind of strategy, whatever you want to call it. I was pulling in on a truck stop, and the car came up from the other side and it was waiting for me to turn, so that way they can. I had a right of way to turn behind me, and like I was looking forward, and since I'm so heavy, I kind of got to make a wide turn, and that car stopped, and a guy in the Harley Davidson going way too fast, like way too fast. I bet he was doing close to 100 miles an hour, and he smoked that car in the back. I don't know if the guy's alive or anything. I kind of controlled the traffic. I didn't come up close to him, but when you see that happening in front of your eyes, and you like, and just bam, and the guy's laying on a motorcycle the other way, and the people in the car freaked out, and I'm kind of like weak to see that, but the guy didn't look really good. So, like I said, I controlled the traffic, called 911. Best I could do. I give him a bottle of water. I'm like, in case you guys need to pour on him or something. I don't know if he was unconscious. Hopefully he's fine, and it wasn't fatigue. What is it? Fatal accident. But on my part, it's something you don't think about every single day. Like when you see that, I saw that like I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something, right around that time, and you kind of think about it like that guy probably got walked out of from work and didn't mind his own business, stepped in, bought a pack of cigarettes in the gas station, and 2 miles down the road he's like in a major accident. But it's totally his stupidity, because he was going too fast for the conditions up there, because it's like a 2-lane highway, and if it is a vehicle pulled out in front of you or suddenly stop and you didn't see, there's no way to go around. And I don't know why he didn't go between us, because he could have, but he was thinking in case they turn. Another thing, nowadays mechanic shops, so I'm jumping from one thing to the other because I want to memorize this. A friend of mine, he stopped in here about a week ago, and I fixed his AC and one of his lights on the visor, and I forgot about his his clutch in general, the transmission clutch. And so yesterday, day before, whatever the day I left, he's like, hey, I'm going to be in Minnesota too. So we stopped in Albert Lee, and I ended up adjusting the clutch right in the fuel island. When I climbed underneath there, I took the lid off, we barred the engine over, I told him to push the clutch pedal, and I did a couple turns. I'm like, you got plenty free play. So everything worked out fine. I put the lid on, and as I was grabbing a flashlight, I looked, and I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. The tie rods don't have a caterpin in it. I'm like, is I'm glitching or they don't have it? And as I'm laying underneath the truck, I'm like, hey, bud, when did you replace the tie rod ends? He's like, well, about a year ago. I'm like, okay. So I climbed from underneath there, and I looked. Sure enough, the bolt is on, the nut is on, but they did not install the caterpins, which, like, if you're not mechanically inclined, it's like putting a wheel with one lug nut and say it's good enough. It's there, so it's fine. There's a reason they put him on. So that blew my mind away. I says, hey, you need to go back to that shop and tell them, hey, like, this is messed up. Like, this is, you guys performed the work on my truck and that wasn't, it's like not safe. I understand it's not going to go nowhere, but there's a reason why is the caterpins on, there on. And another thing, I'm looking in his, where the leaf spring goes, there's a shock bracket, and the shock bracket is turned, and I'm like, what the heck? And I grabbed the whole entire shock, and the shock bracket moves on top of the leaf spring. I'm like, wait a minute, how's that possible? There's no way. And I grabbed the U-bolt, and the U-bolts like were hand tight, they were loose. I looked at him, I was like, do you even understand how did you make here? Like how you've been driving for past year? Because apparently the same guys, I think the same guys replaced one of the leaf springs and they didn't tighten the U-bolts. Yeah, some people gonna say, yeah, they loosen up eventually. If you do it right, they will not loosen up. Like they will not. Because you literally gotta stretch them out, but don't overstretch them and don't understretch them. So we end up going to, I'm like, we're at the petrol. I don't care if it's the line. Like, you do not want to drive the truck where it is. Your front axle is basically not tight on one side. You hit a hard enough bump, everything will slide, and you're gonna have a axle like underneath the cab. Luckily, when we went in the shop, and the guy was about to done with repair on other truck or whatever service he was doing. And I'm like, hey, dude, can you tighten these U-bolts, like loosen them up and retighten them? He's like, well, you really need to replace them. I says, I understand, but you guys don't have a U-bolt. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Who's going to replace them now? So let's just tighten it up, at least make it better than the way it is. So he tied him up with a 3/4 impact. I watched it. Everything got tight, and he left. And he's like, dude, my steering wheel's straight now, almost straight. I'm like, well, yeah, because your axle doesn't walk back and forth. My point is, if you're not mechanically inclined, like you don't understand, well, there's a caterpin supposed to be there, you don't know how to check the U-bolts, to go get DOT, not at the shop, DOT on the side of the road or at the scale when they do a level 1 inspection, it's not a bad thing. Because in that situation, if he would like ignore the scales or try to stay away from them and actually got a inspected one point in time, he would get placed out of service. But that would be out of service in your own benefit, in a benefit for the general public, because you could have caused a major accidents. So that's for the people who's actually like screw the DOT and screw the scales. Sometime you bring the truck in the shop and the work actually gets done not right, like not safely done. Another thing I find out regarding his tie rods, some tie rods do, some tie rods don't, but they have a grease zerk on the bottom of the tie rod, and they put this plastic cap on them. The plastic cap is literally designed just to shipping purposes and installing purposes. So where you lay the tie rod bar under it so you don't kink that, that's where the plastic. After installation, you have to remove those caps and grease the tie rod ends. He's replaced them like little over a year ago. The tie rods never got greased because those caps was not removed. Get it? Which is crazy. That means he does change oil and go gets the grease jobs done and everything else on the truck, but the people who do it, they not knowledgeable enough to understand, hey, there's a grease zerk that needs to be removed, it needs to be greased. So in a year you do quite a bit of oil changes, and I should ask him what shop he goes to do that, but that is just crazy. That's how unprofessional the shops are nowadays. And unprofessional not by putting enough grease or not enough oil in the engine or like minor things, but this is like straight up safety issue, which is blew my mind away yesterday. Thanks for watching. Oh, hold on, I gotta show you what I'm hauling. So be careful which shop you choose to use, because in my personal experience, something like that is like no, like you would not When I was working for the shop, the safety and quality of the work is number one thing. There's the priority. You wanna, whatever you install, you wanna double check all your work, especially on a suspension, driveline, any like whatever controls the vehicle, especially steering components, which is absolute craziness. Not to put a caterpins in. They obviously, if you're good enough mechanic, if they ask you to do one thing, you want to look over everything else, and apparently they didn't do that. So this thing into California, it's a fairly heavy truck and it's really long. It literally takes the whole entire well up here, which is what is it, 31 foot. It like barely fit in right here. I mean, it is tight, but I got to air it down, and it's very tight in the front. I think I might have 6 inches. That's all what I got for the room. So if you had standard RGN, like with the 29 feet in the well, or 28 or 27, you would have to drive those front wheels on top deck. That's why I love this trailer. It's absolutely, it's hard to drive with it because it's so long. It's 53 and it's 49 feet kingpin setting, 49 feet kingpin setting from a kingpin to the back of the axle. It's 49 something, 49.6 or 49.2. But when you do something like this, it works out perfectly because I'm 43,000 pounds back there and I'm 36 right here, which is the weight distribution is absolutely like perfect. Like you can't ask for any better. Anyways, that's all what I got. Gotta shut my bad boy off and going home to sleep. Thanks for watching all. Stay safe and choose your mechanic shops very, very wisely. Don't cheap out on that. Have a blessed one.